I only debate with my equals. All others I teach.
We back. The Chief Seats, the culture and community clash. My man Big Mo, I'm HRap, as you know. We're here to take over the universe. Talk to me, Mo. What's good?
What's up? What's up? Hey, let me do something real quick, Rap. Let me do something real quick. I want to shout out. I got to shout out the graduates, man. I got to shout out all the graduates, man. 2025. Salute to all y'all young people out there that walked that walk, turned them tassels. Shout out to my baby girl, Josie Fields. And who else I know graduated this year? If you graduated, salute to you, man. Go out there and be great.
Be great. Nephew Ken Sherrill graduated from Morgan State this weekend. So, yeah, him too.
Salute.
Hey, this is how old I am. My great nephew.
You said what?
My great nephew, my niece's son. How about that?
You getting young, man. What's going on in my life?
Yeah, man. I'm turning the page. The page is being turned.
What the old people call it. That just means you seasoned, man.
Seasoned.
That just means you seasoned, man. Shout out, welcome back to the Chief Seats. I done turned my light off. We're gonna have to work through it though. But live program. I had to see that's what happened when you try to do it live and you think you got all your T's crossed and your I's dotted. We'll get through it though. But Bet, you see it? We talking about Angel Reese. We're gonna talk about the elders. We're gonna talk about this black Maga, whatever you want to call them. Shador Sanders and his new contract, RG3, Ryan Clark bumping heads. And that story is probably that story funny as hell to me, man. It shouldn't be, but it is.
It's sad.
It's funny as hell to me. I can't wait to see, because I don't even think we really talked about that too much, man. Just like personally on the side, no, we ain't talked about it. We mentioned it, but I can't wait to hear where you go with it. But yeah,
it's gone.
We got to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Y'all don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell your people and spread that word, man. Let's get our rhythm back, man.
Man, the rhythm is always here, man. We Rhythm Nation around here, man. Jay-Z got Rock Nation, we Rhythm Nation.
I got a funny story about that Rock Nation. I got a buddy of mine, and we're going to dive in. Let me tell you this real quick. I got a buddy of mine. He this had to be like 2009, 2010. So he got the what you call it, not the patent, but when you lock down a website, the URL or whatever.
Yeah.
So he had this organization he put together called Rock Nation, right? Wow. And so he locked down that URL, and he got an email. And he kind of put two and two together. This is from Jay-Z's people or whatever. They wanted that URL, right? And so he gonna try to play hardball, thinking he finna get some bread out of it and sell it to him for 7 figures or something. Next thing you know, he go to log into his website and he can't access it. But I think it was something in his paperwork that he didn't do, and they found a loophole to get around it. And I'm like, dude, you should have just played ball with them. Whatever they threw at you, you should have got on the phone, did your little negotiation. But Rock Nation, you just change the name of your organization. You lost it.
The lesson in that is going forward. Just go when you start a website. Just go to GoDaddy. They'll do all your paperwork. For real, they do all your paperwork.
Yeah, I don't even know if GoDaddy was around back then. I don't know how long they've been around, but I think. That's back.
They've been around about 20 years. They've been around at a minimum 20 years. They've been around way longer than Rock Nation.
Yeah. Long enough to him been done his homework. If you're going to sit there and try to patent something, you ain't even got no traffic coming through there. Yeah. I ain't going to put his name out there, though. But you know who you are. If you're watching, you know what to do moving forward, bro.
That's why Biggie Smalls is known as Notorious B.I.G. because it was a Biggie Smalls rapper out there.
Yep. Man. I seen that piece.
The same thing.
I seen that piece. Yeah, almost sound just like him too. Yep. That's what it is, man. You ready to dive into this one, man?
Do it, man. Let's do it. All
right, let's go. So Angel Reese. I think the game was what, last week, maybe 3 days ago or whatever.
8 days ago. 8 days.
8 days ago. So
week ago yesterday.
We talking about this because everybody know the whole Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark fiasco or whatever it is. You got this fake rivalry. Well, I guess it's legit. It's legit. They came out the two biggest names in women's college basketball, and we kind of put together this little rivalry or whatever. Pinned the girls against each other. They now in the WNBA. They had several head-to-head matchups. And in the most recent matchup, we had some controversy. So it was a foul that took place. Angel Reese, you know, just like athletes do, showed some emotion. And it went where it went. Talk to me about it, Rap. I need just go ahead and give me your take on it.
Well, you know what, man? I think one thing that I've noticed that anytime these ladies get into it, a fracas, it's this big blown up thing because we keep putting people in a box. This is how you're supposed to ... But it is a true rivalry. I mean, you go ahead. It is the woman version of Bird versus Magic, if you will. It's just a situation to whereas you got two competitors and you have a world that's not adjusted to these people competing. You have to give them a lot of props because this is the first WNBA class to pull their fans from college basketball to the pros. Everybody else, they fans stay. You know, I love UConn. I don't love Rebecca Lobo. I love USC ladies basketball. I don't love Lisa Leslie. Wherever you're from, I love Virginia. I don't love Don Staley. So it is what it is, and we go. But this is the first crop of ladies that their fans left with them, and instead of ESPN investing in people who are invested in the competition, they invested in people who are invested in controversy. So they continue to push it, and then they pretend as if they're not pushing this race narrative. And me and Big Illinois were talking about this, and the thing is, you not invested. You want to pretend that you're not invested in the racial aspect, but you know that's going to get eyes on the TV. But what they're doing is continuing to push the social divide. And unlike back in the 80s, people pretend not to be racist. Back in the 80s, it was, I don't like black people. Like you when you see even in the 70s, people's like, it's this guy who famously said, hey man, a lot of white people are not coming to these NBA games because it's too black. And people didn't have a problem with that. Okay, you don't like black people, and that's cool. But now we live in this fake world that everybody has to pretend to like each other. You have to pretend to like LGBTQ. You have to pretend to like this. You have to pretend to like that. And now it's coming to a head, and they continue to draw up these false narratives. And it's a sad situation instead of just watching the competition.
Yeah. So go ahead. My bad.
No, I'm listening. I was listening to your response.
All right. I'm gonna keep it all the way live. So when I knew we were gonna talk about it, I went and I just started doing some digging. I'm like, okay, let me see what's going on, because she catching a whole lot of heat. Not only as I think the perception is she hating on Caitlin Clark, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe true, may not. I don't know. I don't see it. I see two competitive female athletes, but. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, let me go and watch the tape. And I'm looking at some stats from last year from Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and you know they both had they rocky moments throughout the season, and they both showed that they got a ceiling that they could reach, right? Mm. And I'm looking at it this season, and I see Caitlin Clark taking some steps forward with it, and I'm looking at, like, you see the numbers right here: 9 points, 13.7 rebounds, 2 assists. 1.7 steals. Now, mind you, this is what I want people to remember, because I hate when we do this, when we start pinning athletes against each other. These girls play two different positions, right?
Exactly.
So you're not going to see these numbers look just parallel like that, like you can really make a legitimate comparison. How good are you at what you do? How good are you at what you do, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I saw the numbers for the rebounds, I'm like, okay, Angel Reese, she out here killing it. She killing it, and it ain't even close. I'm talking about league-wide. But then I'm hearing the argument about she get more opportunities because she missing more shots. I don't know how much women's basketball you watch, WNBA basketball you watch, but watching it, I understand the argument. So now my question to you is what's her ceiling? Because you see the question I got listed up under here, like what would her legacy be? But before we answer that question, right now, based on what you've seen thus far, what is Angel Reese's ceiling? And
You know
then I
what?
got another question.
It's hard to say what her ceiling is, because are they gonna start putting the ball in her hand? You know what I mean? Because Angel Reese was a scorer in high school. She was a
Yeah.
flat out scorer. And I mean, like you said, there's two different positions. You got a guard and you got a power forward. How many points is the power forward supposed to be scoring? Does she need to improve her offense? Indeed, she does. When she left school last year, they said, well, she's going to have to work on her offense. That's the first thing she said. But guess what? She blocking shots. She rebounding. She making timely passes and plays. She's doing all the things that are Buck Williams, that are Michael Cage, that are Charles Oakley. But the difference is she has more leadership qualities on the basketball court. So, of course, if you compare a big time power forward in any era to a guard, like a dynamic guard, like a Clyde Drexler, Michael Jordan, a Reggie Miller, or one of these guys who are going to be doing volume shooting, of course, their numbers are not going to be comparable. And this is the nuance in sports conversation that we've lost. Everybody goes, you're good. Let me look over here. Look at your numbers, and let me look at your numbers, and that the time, just like, I got rings, I got numbers. No, game is what should dictate the conversation, and game does not dictate the conversation, and that's why Angel Reese is looked upon as a hater. But
Yeah.
when you look at the big picture, like the little picture is me right here. The big picture is Mo and Rap, but the little picture is people focus on the little picture. How many championships and what are your stats? But if you want to look at it that way, cool. Let's look at it that way. The stats are this. NIL means most popular athlete. The most popular athlete makes the most money, right?
Mm-hmm.
The lady on the screen had the most NIL money ever.
Yeah.
Championships. Only one of these ladies has had a championship. And see, again, they continue to draw these parallels, and the parallels are a false narrative. She's jealous. I'm a champion. I have to be jealous of anything. You got the numbers and I got the rings. So according to today's conversation, nobody should be calling this lady a hater. But they are, because that's what's that's what's making people pay attention. But at the end of the day, and before we wrap up this topic, I'm gonna tell you who I blame in this outside of the media.
Okay.
Oh,
Tell
you
you
want me
what.
to say it now?
No. I was just looking at something. But let me say this right here. So I don't like the hater tag, right? The criticism, okay, I get that. Come with the criticism, because it's been games where I watched, I'm like, ooh, you got to make that layup. You got to make that shot. You got the ball under the basket. You got to make that shot. You're the biggest player on the floor right now.
Mm-hmm.
I can forgive a lot of stuff. I don't know if they're using her the right way. I mean, just from some of the games I watch, I don't think they are. I don't think she really getting and I'm not trying to make a whole bunch of excuses for her. But, I got to give her the benefit of the doubt, because just watching some of these games, I'm like, this is a kind of to me, a weird offense that you running with this lineup that you got. You know what I'm saying? But I guess, number one, I told you I had two questions on this. Is the criticism fair, number one? And then number two, like, what do you think ultimately that legacy will be? And I know that's kind of a hard question to answer, but let's say you put her in the right situation. Let's say, you know what I'm saying, you got her matched up, with the right pieces around her.
Mm-hmm.
So
if
is
you
that
put
criticism fair, and what's that legacy?
The criticism always fair when you get a paycheck. Period.
There you go.
Once you start getting a paycheck, all the excuses go away. You need to work on your offense. You need to be making these shots more consistently, because you can go, oh well, see, she needs to make those shots, because Wilson is making those shots, and everybody around her, Sue Bird making those shots. There's people all around the league, they making those shots. So ain't nobody really trying to hear that. But the legacy is yet to be told, because like I said, a guard in a woman's game, a guard has more control of what's going on. You know, it used to be if they was playing old school NBA or if they was playing the WNBA, that Swoops and Cooper and her former coach were in. I can't think of her name right now.
Out of
And,
LSU.
yeah, no, her former coach in Chicago, she got fired. The lady who was coaching last year got fired. I can't think of her name right now.
I know you're talking about.
Cooper, her, and if they was playing that type of game, and then yeah, it will be a different situation. But they're not playing that. They're not playing traditional basketball. So it's going, and then you continue to switch up my coaches. You got better players around one. It is yet to be told. But again, let's be honest. This is a young lady who left school a year early. The other young lady played 4 years. This is a young lady who walked in the door saying you need to work on your offense. This person is an offensive juggernaut. So when you're looking at these things, it's just not fair to compare, but we will see. The only time will tell.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I think, but again, I think given the right situation, because ain't nobody messing with on the glass. And dude, that right there, I mean, you could turn that situation around real quick with it. But I don't know. We'll see what happens, man. Just keep watching, see what happens. These girls young in their career, and part 2 to that conversation when we get to this RG3 gonna be a trip. It's gonna be a trip. Let's get into the elders, though, man. Let's talk about the elders, man.
Yeah, well,
break this one down for me.
This one right here, we don't, since this is culture meets conversation, the conversation of the culture, and you got people who are, we don't rest on our elders enough. How many people are sitting down talking to their grandparents? This is a topic that I touched on Rapping with HRap. We don't talk to the elders enough. If we talk to our elders enough, we could actually, it'll be enough cognitive thought put into the world today. How many of us sitting down with our mothers? How many of us sitting down with our grandmothers, grandfathers? If you're still blessed to have a grand anything, great uncle, your mother's brother, your grandmother's brother, sister, uncle, aunt, how many of us are utilizing that information? I believe our community is in disarray because we have grown up in a universe that says, hey, you ain't my mama, you ain't my ... so I don't have to listen. When me and you were raised, it was, let me go holler at dude because I know he knows. And until we get back to that universe, we're gonna continue to struggle as a community at by and large.
Yeah. I never met either one of my biological grandfathers, right? And my grandmother, when I was I guess about 8, 9 years old, she passed away, my mother's mother. And, so out of my grandparents, my father's mother, that's the one I spent the most time around. And sitting down, just talking to old people. I love doing that, bro. I done told you that before. I love sitting down talking to old folks, man. And the game that you get from them without them even trying to give you game and without you realizing you picking up game is priceless. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at, like, I think me and you done talked about this before. You go back and you look at your generation, your parents' generation, and your grandparents' generation. It was so similar with, just the little subtle changes, you know what I'm saying? And, we also talked about how, and I guess that's kind of a different part of the conversation, but we talked about how with our parents' generation, some of the mistakes that were made, you know what I'm saying, that may have hindered us. But then I look at our kids' generation, how different it is, and how we the generation that really had to kind of change the approach to raising kids, you know what I'm saying? And just trying to build them bridges, and it'd be so hard to do. And I think both our kids are grown now, right? So it's one of those things that it never stops. It's an ongoing process of I've still got to pour way more into you than I thought I would have at this point. You know what I'm saying? And it's gonna be hard to kind of, train them on how to do it for theirs. You follow what I'm saying? So
But
I always thought that was interesting, man.
With the loss of my mother, I realized how much it ain't It ain't harder. It's just a constant. It's a constant because every day I hear my mother in my ears. And anytime I'm talking to my son, I was talking to BJ yesterday, when I was talking to my daughter the day before, and BJ was like, he said, like you said, like you said about
Mm.
6 times, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you were actually listening. You were actually listening. But hell, BJ 32, and I'm finding out he was actually listening. And so it's not that I don't think we changed. I think the thing that we needed to change, and I'm glad we did as a community, is the physicality, the actually striking your children. I'm so glad we stopped striking our children because that is a passed down trait. You don't have to hit somebody to make sure they get it.
Yeah.
It's other ways to enforce the rules. And it seems as if, as a community, we did not take the time to enforce those rules or figure out a ways to communicate. That's something I'm glad we didn't, but it's just so many things like the communication aspect. One of the greatest lessons, my mother, I mean, I said we could do talk about HRap's mama, and we could be on this program until tomorrow, and we wouldn't get past age 5. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's this one thing I had to be about maybe 35, and I got on my son because he did something wrong, and I got on my son. And then he went downstairs. He went to get my mother something to drink. I'll never forget this alone. He went to get my mother something to drink. And my mother said, "Hey, remember you told me sometimes you used to be scared to talk to me?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "That's how he feel right now." That's why the elder conversation is important, because you thinking you enforcing and you intimidating. And then I could talk to her because now I'm grown. Mama, I'm grown. I could talk
Yeah.
to her, but
Yeah.
she's watching from a different perspective. And it's like, damn. And I don't see a lot of that. Now, I understand that there's certain aspects of life that have hindered our development as a community. Crack, drugs, violence, lack of resources
Mm-hmm.
that put people in precarious situations, that put them in a penitentiary. Let's just be honest. Put them in a penitentiary. So I
Yeah.
get why some of these things are not the way they should be. But as a community, we need to just continue to enforce what's going on. Like it's just that bridging of the gap. It wasn't there. That hand extended, like I think it was 66 or 67. It was before I was born. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad drew this. He had this picture drawn, and it was two hands just like this. And in one of the hands, it was from America. The other hand was from Africa. Well, we're gonna have to draw that same picture from generation to generation.
You know
And
what?
that's what it is.
That's what I was thinking about when you look at it, when you talk about the elders.
Hmm.
One of the questions I have is, like, I mean, the question is, what should we learn from them? I know that ain't the full question, but that's the
Yeah, yeah,
subtopic.
that's part of it.
But
Yeah.
my thing is, what do we take and make sure that we hold on to, versus what do we break or change or let go from that generation, from the elders in general, right?
Hmm. Only thing I would say is the physicality. We don't have to hit our children to get them to learn. We don't have to hit them. That's the only thing else. Everything else, man, we have to live. Man, shout out to Karen Hunter, man, one of the dopest radio hosts, one of the dopest authors, one of the dopest professors. She's at Hunter College. No connection. But
Yeah.
and she talks about she says this on a regular basis, and I've adapted it to my conversation. Chew up the meat, spit out the bones. Some of the things that our parents taught us will be they're universal. Other things that we need to just we're not gonna do that no more. And you have to pick and choose on how you do that. Should
Hmm.
we yell at our children? Nope. Because yelling at your children, I don't care who you yelling at. If especially if you are physically bigger, if you mentally bigger, you're emotionally bigger, you shrinking them. I don't care how tough your child is. They shrinking when you get the barking on your child. You shrinking them. They're going to not. bloom. We need to realize that a child's job is to make a mistake. Your job is to correct it. Once we realize everything that when you are between the ages of 0 and possibly 16, every time you walk out your house, you're gonna see something that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
But when you make that mistake, bam, so what? Like, that's one thing I will pat myself on the back about being a parent. I used to know when I got on my son, and I did do the physicality thing, which was wrong, but when I used to get on my son, afterwards we'll talk, and I'll be like, BJ, you ain't in trouble because you making a mistake. You in trouble because you made the same mistake.
Right.
And see, I am proof positive of that because I did not like being talked at. My mother used to talk to me. And one of the greatest things, again, shout out to my moms, rest in peace. One of the best things my mother ever did to me was say, when she yelled at me, "You not stupid." And I'm like, and it got to the point, it built such a shield around me. When you challenge my intelligence to this day, I'm ready to put my hands on you. Like, what? You think I'm stupid? And it would be times that I will hit BJ with the same thing. I say, I would do it a different way. BJ would mess up. I'd be like, oh yeah, I don't expect you to be able to do that. And he would look like, what? I ain't. And one of the best parenting moments I ever had, went to school. BJ was cutting up. They was going to try to put him on Ritalin. They was going to try to put him in a special ed class. I just sat there and I'm listening. They tricked his mama. And I'm watching the whole process. I'm like, they got her. And it's not a knock against her because these are professionals and you thinking the people at the school should have the wherewithal to be able to help you with your child.
Right.
And I was like, I'm watching. I said, they got her. And they turned to me. I had the little suit and tie job, so I looked like I was doing some big things. And I was like, I'm just sitting there. And they said, so what about you? And I was like, no, I disagree with everything you said. And they would say, but see, the record so. And I said, and I literally just went back into my database to me as the former class clown. And I said, oh, so he talk a lot, huh? He was like, yeah. I said, and then he'll disrupt the class by talking to the students, right? Yeah. And I named all the things that he was doing because that's what I was doing.
Right.
And I was like, so, and they would say, so you do understand? I said, yeah, because they was calling me the class clown when I was doing those things. They didn't say I had an issue. They said I was the class clown. So I told them, I said, tell you what. They was going, well, you going to take the medication? I said, nah, I put my kid on that. I said, tell you what, give me 10 weeks. This was the beginning of the market period. I said, give me 10 weeks. If when I go home and talk to him, if it don't work in 10 weeks, I will let you put my son on drugs. And he was like, okay. So they walked out like, he think he knew what he talking
They got to
about.
figure it out. Yeah.
I walked in, I walked home, and she was like, blah, blah, and I'm just like, whatever. I'm not even paying attention to her because I'm like, they tricked you. And it's not a knock against you because that's their job to trick you. And again, this is why you need both parents.
Yeah.
That's why you need both parents. So I said, I got home. I didn't say anything. She was barking on me all the way home. I'm driving. I walk in the crib. I take my towel, take my jacket off. I say, BJ. He come downstairs and he thinking, oh man, I'm in a world of trouble. I say, hey, they're about to put you in the slow kid class and they're gonna put you on drugs because they think you stupid. He was like, what? He was offended. I say,
He
yeah, man.
switched it
I
up
say,
quick, didn't he?
and he straightened out. I said, look at these
Yeah.
grades, bro. I said, you getting C's and D's. I say, C mean can't, D mean do. So can't do, can't do, can't do.
Yeah.
Now he offended. I ain't great. I ain't slow. I say, bro, look at your grades. What am I to believe? I ain't stupid. I say, well, tell you what, I'm gonna go up there tomorrow. You got 10 weeks. If you don't do this in 10 weeks, you going into the slow kid class. Man, this joker was hot. 10 weeks later, because first 10 weeks, you had to go get the grades. Second 10 weeks, they let you, the kid, bring the grades home.
Yeah.
Or whichever way it was. His mother went and got the grades the second time, and I came in the house Took my tie off and everything. I'm sitting there watching TV. BJ, grades down here. He come downstairs. He nervous. He pick up the grades. It's like Bria, my daughter, BJ. He didn't look at the grades. He just picked up the report card, opened it up. He saw all A's, 1B. And then he picked up the other. He like, oh, that's Bria. He said, that's not mine. And he looked it up. And the next one got all A's, 1B. He was, whoa. So he's like, oh. He looked at it again. He said, that's mine. You can see him saying, that's mine. So my man, chest way out here, he walking to me like he finna hit me. And he looked at the thing. He said, here you go. And I looked at it. I had seen the grades already. I looked at it. I said, here you go. I said, watch out, man. I'm watching Sports Center. He said, ain't you proud of me? I was like, no. He said, I got all A's and a B. You're not proud? I said, BJ, I've been telling you your whole life. You the only one that didn't think you could do it. He was like, and you can see he was like, oh, I said, and I literally told him, I said, hey, BJ, check this out. If you'd have listened, I told you I was the class clown. I told you I can help you through this. And I used to tell, I said, BJ, if you want me to, I'll give you the game plan on how to get your grades right. I said, and you can still be the class clown. I said, and I literally told my son, I said, BJ, I will teach you how to be the class clown so I can live through you. You don't know. And I said, here go the messed up part, BJ. He said, what's that? I said, you have to get good grades all the time now. What you mean? I said, you just showed me you can get all A's.
Yeah,
I said,
we know you're capable of doing it now.
I said, you ain't. And next thing you know, my man go from about to go to the slow class to one of the best high schools in Chicago, Chicago Bulls College Prep. I was like,
I'm gonna tell you, it's like, bro, like the way you explained it, talking about how one of the things we need to get away from is, just putting your hands on the kids. It makes it look like a lazy approach now. Because there are more effective ways that may require more attention, you know what I'm saying, more time and investing more energy into it. But it's also proven to be more effective, depending on your child, and I get it. I mean, because I'm not gonna sit here and say, no, we ain't gonna never do this, we ain't gonna never do that. It's been times where I'm like, okay, I done had to tell you a million times. Sometimes I might have to,
right.
I might have to, yeah, exactly. I gotta carry your chest in. But, don't let that be the first resort.
Exactly.
So, exactly. Don't let that be the first resort.
That would be the only thing I wouldn't transfer to my mother, man. My parent, because my dad died 4 months before I was born.
Right.
So my mother was my mother and my father. But my mother had a merit system. Wasn't the first option. It was talk. Put like this. Let's just say I messed up, and which I did. I messed up like every day. Every day of the week, there was a teacher calling the crib. So Monday, Brian, stop. All right. I know, because my mother didn't play. My mother was a drill sergeant. So Tuesday, if it wasn't the same teacher, I was cool. But it was a merit system. And it literally took about 3 weeks before I got my butt whooped.
Yeah.
And maybe we need to institute something of that nature. And even if you don't, like with a dude, I don't know if I would have slowed down on jacking my son up. But like you said, stop, boy. I wouldn't change that. But the whole picking up a leather strap, hitting your child, angry at your child, yelling at we got to get rid of all of that. Yeah. We got to kill all that noise. That has to die, because that is transferred from white nationalism, treating our children like animals. You shouldn't even treat an animal like that. So but the knowledge that we get from our, like my homeboy, I got a homeboy. He's 16 years younger than me. He used to work with me, and he was scared. He got a divorce. He was scared his kids is gonna miss him. And now I say, hey Joe, the way you used to kick it with your kids, trust me, you'll be cool. And it got to, he was overbearing with his kids, showing it to the point where his 8-year-old son said, what you want, Dad? I'm playing the game, Dad. What you want? Because he keep calling him every day. Hey, how you doing? He said, yeah. You watching the game, Dad. I'm playing my game. Like, leave me alone. And he called me, he said, man, you told me that. I said, Joe, let me tell you how I knew he was going to do that. He was like, why? I said, I'll tell you about my grandmother and my grandfather all the time. He was like, yeah. I said, how old do you think I was when my grandparents died? He said, about 25, 30. I said, bro, both my grandparents died when I was 7 and 8. And then my other grandparents died when I was 22 and 19. I said, and because they poured that much into me, I carry that. I say, and the funny stories is my grandfather who died when I was before I had double digits. Funniest dude in the world. And he used to tell me, look, it was almost like he knew what was going on. He knew he wasn't here long. He would front loaded me with a whole lot of information. Like it's this place, this Polish stand that's world famous in Chicago. It's called Jewtown Polish. And he was like, hey, Ryan, you meet a girl in Jewtown, that's where you take her to Jewtown. Do not take her to get a steak. And I'm 6. What? And now, as a grown man, I was like, oh, if you meet somebody, don't upgrade them unless they are ready to be upgraded. And it didn't mean nothing, but he was hitting me. It was hitting me. And imagine telling a 6-year-old that.
Yeah.
And then when they 30, they go, why am I trying to give you Hennessy or VSOP or Dom Perignon when you a slit smoke liquor person?
Yeah.
Let you be slits. And it's just certain things like our entire generation needs to inculcate that information and transfer it to our children and our grandchildren, and then start putting responsibility. Like if you got, like a lot of us, you got like a 15-year-old child and you got a 9-year-old child. You need to put all the responsibility on that 15-year-old child. Hey, man, help your brother, help your sister, help your brother, help your sister. And then next thing you know, I think that is parental, a deterrent for parent. Like you ain't finna be raw dog because you hate keeping your brother, so you definitely ain't finna have no baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it's teaching you responsibility because that's why I allow my children. That's why I allow my children. To have a dog. And we want a dog. You do? Yeah. I said, you want a dog? Yeah. Because my children had no responsibility. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I said, hey, I'm not walking this dog. Never. And my son just coming into high school. I said, oh yeah, you definitely don't. And next thing you know, I'm going to Lil Vince's house. I was like, no, you're not. You can walk this dog.
And
And then,
broken.
okay. And then and after a while, he hated that damn dog. I still love the dog, and I took care of him. He was my dog. But I was like, you're going to hate this. And then my daughter be walking around the block. And the funny thing was, he's a pit bull dog pulling me down the street. I got the heel. My son, heel. Dog walking next to my daughter like he's scared of her. He tail down. He just chilling. He on the stroll. I'm like, I drove past her walking that dog. She on her phone. She ain't paying no attention. Some little boy walked up, his ears perked up. He growled at the little boy. Little boy left, and he kept walking. I said, hey, he do that all the time. She was like, yeah, he did that every day. I said, he don't pull with you? She was like, nah, he don't never pull with me.
Yeah.
So the dog but they hated coming back home. Couldn't go out and kick it without the dog. So, I mean, it was just crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, it's endless lessons to learn, and I agree with you. Just it ain't but so much that we need to cut out. But that's one of them, though.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Push it on. I'm gonna let you have this one. Black Maga.
Black Maga.
I ain't even know that was a thing until you said that. Explain. Please explain.
Black Maga is another way to say house N-word.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of people in the United States of America. Look, let's just be honest, man. Black people are naturally conservative. We are a conservative community. There ain't no way around it. We love God. We work our butts off. We don't want nobody mooching off us. On paper, we are MAGA, but they are the destructive force in the United States of America. And what we have grown to be, and what the United States, has groomed working class America to be self-hating. And and because they don't exercise their civic duties, they don't do what they're supposed to do. They signed up with this, and it is proof positive that they don't do research. So now, Donald Trump gonna do this, and you just see all these black folks. The Democratic Party ain't never done this, and they just continue to parrot specific ideologies, and we suffer for it, man. Like in the
Mm-hmm.
people on the screen, Tim Scott, he couldn't win dog catcher somewhere. Wasn't nobody, if he didn't denigrate black people, he wouldn't be able to win. Steve from Django, Kanye, he's thinking outside the box. No, you're not. You just say
Yeah.
outrageous stuff every time you're trying to sell something, and then you come back and then you sell it and you disappear. So, and everybody, it's just Black MAGA is a product of mental laziness and inability to follow through. Like again, like our grandparents. Because if you knew who your grandparents were, there's no way you would sign up for this.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, it's scary. It's scary
Mhm,
because now you realizing there's so many out there that are not only aligning themselves with essentially the enemy. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
People that's all about your oppression and demise, and
mhm,
you kind of trying to paint it like you said, like you thinking outside the box, like you smarter than everybody else. Like, no, bro, that's dangerous. That's a dangerous mindset. That's a dangerous way to be. So yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's frightening, and I mean, I don't know, like, how do you begin to kind of just get to the point to where you weed all of that out, and I don't
it's-
see it. It ain't gonna happen organically.
mm-mm.
I tell my girl
That's
all
a
the
great
time, I'm
question.
like, you gotta stop giving stupid people the benefit of the doubt. Expecting them to not be who they shown you to be. You know?
But mm, boy, that's a mouthful right there, man. And
Yeah.
that's the bottom line. Exactly what's going on. But but man, I'm trying to avoid saying this thing that I really want to say. I gotta say it though. The generation before us, man, they dropped the damn ball, man. Our parents, little brothers and sisters, that generation. I would
Yeah.
literally say the people that was born as our parents, brothers and sisters, up till the people that in my generation. I say from 55 to 1980, we all dropped the ball because I would say from 55 to 70, in the 70s, those people were young adults. And then in the 80s, I watched it, man. I watched it.
Mhm.
That's why I can say this. I watched those people go from your parents own two or three properties up here in Illinois. Your parents own two or three properties. Your parents own a corner store. Your parents had this. Your parents had that. And they quit those, they let those things fall off. And then when that crack slid through, a lot of people got beat out their stuff for drugs. And then a lot of people say, a corner store ain't good enough for me. I don't want to do that. And I want to go downtown and I want to wear shirts and ties and this, that, and the third. When if you looked at your grandparents and your parents, your grandfather who owned the corner store and your father who ran the corner store, he didn't wear a shirt and tie until it's time to go to church or take your grandmother somewhere, go to a funeral. But guess what? You never wanted for anything. But we thought it was better. I'm gonna go downtown and get a good job with a 401k. But you know what? If you train, just like I got people, and we all know somebody who went down the wrong path. Imagine you go down the wrong path, then you get your head back on straight, right? Ain't nobody downtown about to hire, or not many people downtown gonna hire. But if you got that corner store that's making $2,500, $3,000 a day, which is about $45,000 a month, and let's say you put 30 of that 40, you put 30 of that 45 back into the store, and you put 15, I mean 7 of that 15 in your pocket, that's $7,000 in the bank every day.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? But ain't wasn't nobody thinking like that because that wasn't. And now throughout the entire nation, you have people from other countries pulling up at corner stores. They pulling up in Mercedes, Infinities, and Lexus, and Range Rovers, and Land Rovers, and all the expensive things that we want, making money off our community, and we still hollering, the government need to give us some jobs.
Hmm.
No, I don't need them to give me no job. You know what I need? I need more people to thank y'all in the chat room for watching. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I need y'all to tell a friend and tap in. and me and Mo gonna make this. We're gonna teach our sons how to do this. Hopefully, Mo's son and my son will be doing this one day, and so forth and so on, and continue to expand. That's what we need to be doing. But we keep asking for jobs. We literally, Mo, are asking for slavery because you think if at some even in Roots, Chicken George got his freedom in the show.
Yeah.
He got his freedom, aka retirement.
Yeah.
he got it. That's hey, and don't nobody want to say it, but why are we asking people who captured us, tried to beat us down to nothing, and enslaved us, and created laws to discriminate against us, and then created rules that we couldn't live in specific place? All these discriminatory practices, and you think you're gonna wake up tomorrow and they're gonna go, "Oh my God, do you realize what we did to black people?" I'm sorry.
Wow.
It's not gonna happen.
Let me say this. I'm gonna say this before we push on to the Shador Sanders story. I'm not gonna say his name. He probably ain't watching. He probably ain't know none of this exists. But I had one of the elders look me dead in my face and tell me, we sitting outside. We in the middle of we just did the yard. Got this big bonfire going, throwing some drinks back. After we got all the work done. And I don't know how the conversation come up, but he looked me dead in my face. And he said, "Man, ain't you glad they brought us here?" Bro, do you know what that did to my spirit? Do you know what that did to my soul? Because first of all, coming from where you come from, you one of them. You remember that whole Jim Crow era, right?
Mm-hmm.
For you to even allow your mind to go there to say something like that. And I wanted to be like, okay, do I understand what he trying to say? Is he trying to say this? Is he trying to say that? Nah, bro, I don't get it. I don't get it. So out of respect, me being who I am, out of respect, I ain't finna go off on him. I'm like, all right, man, I'm gonna go ahead and take me a shower. I'm gonna shut it down. I got nothing else to say to you. I can't respond to that. Respond to that. What you want me to say? I mean, that killed me, bro. That one killed me right there. But yeah, I don't understand that clique. I don't understand that fold over there. I don't know what the agenda is. All I see is a bunch of compromised black men and women that decide that, you know what, it's safer over here, it's easier over here. I don't know. Maybe they were promised something. I don't know. But it's weird. It's weird and it's frightening to me.
It is, man, because look, first of all, because we live in this generation that we just hear, we don't really listen. Allow me to clarify what I'm saying. My mother worked for the state of Illinois until the day she died. No,
Yeah.
my father was a tool and die man until the day he died. So I work every day. I'm not, and there's anything wrong with having a job. So, because there's some people that heard me say that, and they say, "You don't want a job," and let me tell you how I know that. I used to drive Uber. I literally had a woman in my back seat. She was flirting super hard too, and we started having a conversation. And this woman said, "See, what's wrong with these kids is they talk about being entrepreneurs. They don't even want no job." I'm like, At that point, she had given me her number. I had given her mine. And when she got out, I put my phone out and blocked her.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I said, "You're stupid." And look, by the way, Mo, I just got my master's in administrative something. She got and she's like, "And I'm gonna open up a center." I'm like, "You just said you wanted to be an entrepreneur, and you sitting in this car all of 40. You mad because they had the idea at 19? They didn't waste 20 years of their life." So,
bro, that's that whole mindset of, we go to school, we graduate, we work hard, we get us a good job, and we fall in line. That's that whole mindset, man. And so that's one of them things that's been passed down that we just got to kind of, just break that cycle and, just think a little bit bigger. Think a little bit bigger and think a little bit smarter,
a lot bit bigger, man. A lot bit bigger. Because
speaking
guess
of,
what, man? everybody is not an academic. So yeah, I got a degree. So I'm using my degree for the first time now. I'm 50. I'm 50 plus. Using my degree for the first time. Okay. But here's the thing. I'm at the bottom of the total pole. But guess what? We can teach our children Series 7. Now you can go to be a stock market guy. You know, like how many people you know? Like I knew this dude. I'm not gonna say his name because I don't know if he watching or not. We just gonna call him Bill. We're just gonna call him Bill.
Mr. Bill.
Bill, his sophomore year in college, his parents died, left him and his sister $500,000. If Bill would have had the knowledge that I have right now, that I know a lot of other people have, you know what Bill could have did? He could have took, at the time, he could have took 100,000 of that, and it would have worked, and put it in a CD. And that CD would have rolled over in a year, and he'd have had $120,000. And he took the 120 and put it in another CD, never facing any tax penalties, and just kept flipping it until he got out of until today. Bill will have $3.5 million today. And he could have had the good government job, and bam, or he could have did like this dude who was down at SIU. His name Roland. Shout out to Roland. Roland. This lady was selling her little jive restaurant. No disrespect, Roland, but it was little shack restaurant. It was called Mama's Catfish. Roland bought it for not $1,000, not $2,000, not $3,000, not $5,000. You ready for this, Mo? $400. Roland a whole millionaire right now because he kept that restaurant going, and then he started buying trailers and renting trailers to students. And then this place called the Funky Pickle went up for sale. Roland bought that. Next thing you know, Roland riding around Carbondale, Illinois, where the school is, a whole millionaire. See, we ain't thinking, but we keep thinking. And Roland is a Catholic. Roland is a college educated brother. But Roland found a way without even using his degree. And it's 1,000,005 ways. Some of us are good with our hands. Why are we not telling our children, you need to be a plumber, you need to be an electrician? I read in Forbes magazine, guess what they say the new millionaires will be? Plumbers and electricians. Guess who don't want to go to school for that? Nobody. Another thing, you got global warming. You can need, so guess what? Guess what else you're gonna need? You're gonna need heating and air conditioning guys. Houston, Texas is one of the most humid places in the history of the world. Phoenix, Arizona is becoming overpopulated. The South is always needing air conditioning. You can't go Chicago. It could be the warmest day of the summer, the coldest day of the winter, and the rainiest day in the spring in the same day.
Yeah.
So, but we're not teaching our children that, and that's something that you can pass down. But you know, it's just one of those, and we that's a disconnect. Because go to college. Nah. I should have went to broadcasting school.
You and me both. I think like going into this Shador situation, for me, I think that kind of ties in. I think it ties in because Shador Sanders signed by Cleveland Browns. What was it? The 55th pick, or in the 5th round.
No, the 100
and some pick in the 5th round. 55th pick. Yeah, and $4.6 million on the contract. We ain't got to walk through it. Everybody know the situation, how we felt like he was disrespected in the draft, and projected to be drafted much higher, and fell as far as he did for whatever reason. But me and you talked about, and you put this in my mind, like, you know what? Why not just go elsewhere with it? You know what I'm saying? Why not, you know what? Okay, this is what y'all think of me. So as opposed to me staying in this draft, let's go elsewhere. Break that down for me, for the people, because
like I said, man,
I'm not breaking it down the way I want to.
Okay, like I said that day, I'm watching this whole thing unfold. First day go past. That's not rare because Geno Smith was projected. Geno Smith had a similar career as Shador. I'm like, that ain't bad, worst, he'll get picked up soon. Second day, what? Third day, what? And it's almost the end of the draft, and he get picked up. That was the NFL exercising that muscle. This is the second time they've showed it, like my grandfather used to say. This is the second time you showed me your ass. And I know I'm not even gonna waste my time saying we need to stop watching football because that's gonna happen the day after the sun stopped coming up in the west.
Exactly.
And when the sun come up in the west, that's when people gonna start watching football. But he was in my brother, our young brother Shador. He's in a unique situation. He walked in the door a millionaire. Unlike most fifth round draft picks, he walked in the door a millionaire. My favorite football player because I didn't like offensive players, but for whatever reason, I latched on to Marcus Allen. And Marcus Allen, most people don't know, Marcus Allen has a younger brother named Damian Allen, who was killing it in college. And I'm like, man, in my childish mind, the Raiders need a quarterback. The best dude on the team is Marcus. Get his brother. Now you got his brother killing. You got him killing.
Mm-hmm.
It's finna go down. He never got drafted. Damian Allen went to Canada with no money. Went up there and did a carbon copy of what our elder Warren Moon did. Won 5 Grey Cups. He the man. Probably gonna be a Hall of Famer. The whole 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying if I'm Shador, I'm already rich. I already got a media company that's run by my older brother. I got the eyes of the community. The whole black community is paying attention to Shador Sanders right now. I'd have went my behind up to Canada. Then we'd have start watching Canadian football. That would have expanded. And then the NFL would have never done this again. But he took it the traditional route, and I got to prove myself. And it goes back to the thing that we always say. You got to be twice as good. I'm not working twice as hard for the same. I remember saying that in corporate America. People, you got to be twice as good. I say, nah, I'm good. I'm good at my job. And I was showing, to the point where I remember the clients used to come to town. They would come get me and take me out. I remember one time the client gave me this one big giant $10,000 check. I went and bought 5 burgers. So I'm not working twice as hard for the same money. Now, tell you what, I will work twice as hard if you pay me double the money. But if I'm gonna get this same little $75,000, $85,000, I'm not gonna give you $180,000 worth of work, $160,000 worth of work. I'm gonna give you the best thing Brian Williams can give you. I'm gonna max out my abilities because that's what you're paying me for. But I think that young brother, and look, you prime son. The whole nation is watching you. We mad. So mad that we did is that, and then I tell you, I said, watch what they're gonna do, Mo. They're gonna make his jersey the number 1 jersey in the rookies. Mm-hmm. And Shador Sanders is the number 1 rookie jersey. So he's gonna get a little extra bread in his pocket. He pretty much paid for his own contract now. Because they done made for, if he got the number 1 jersey in Cleveland right now, rookie jersey in Cleveland, that means he's already paid for that $4.7 million. So he's gonna make the team because they need eyes on them. Y'all not like my man Kendrick Lamar. You're not finna pimp this butterfly. I'm finna go up north.
I think at the end of the day, what Cleveland did, and to their credit, you knew what they were doing. They ended up getting a great deal. That's what they did. They got a super legit deal, right? And like you said, you putting him in a position where now, even though you got the tape, I got a whole college career that you can go back and reference. All the so-called experts already got me projected to be, if not the number 1 quarterback, the number 2 quarterback. So what am I proving? What am I proving? What am I proving beyond what any other athlete that's being drafted has to prove? Okay, that this was a good pick. You know what I'm saying? What else I got to prove? And so now they ended up with this super legit deal. And I don't know, it still upset me because, and I try to take emotions out of it when it comes to sports or entertainers and all of that. But just watching this play out, watch this brother have to go through that, it's crazy. And I know you got people out there that'll say he did it to himself. He didn't He didn't interview well, or he shouldn't have been so cocky, shouldn't have been so arrogant. And man, what the hell ever. It is what it is. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it is, whether you want to admit it or not. So, but
and just in case you don't, 1 second, Mo, before you go to the next topic, and just in case you don't know what it is, if Shadur Sanders is arrogant and cocky by saying, I only want to go to a team that's trying to win, it's the dude who was drafted in the same round as him, who y'all call the greatest of all time, who literally told the ownership of the New England Patriots, if y'all don't draft me, that'll be the biggest mistake of y'all life.
That don't sound arrogant to me, Rap. That don't sound arrogant, bro.
Exactly.
That
Peyton
ain't
Manning
arrogant.
has
That ain't
said the
cocky.
same thing. Peyton Manning, average brother, refused to go to a team that. Let's just be honest, man. The Chargers, we might not be Chargers fans anywhere. We might not, and you ain't gonna find a whole legion of Chargers fans. But you know what? I'm just gonna give you a brief synopsis of the Chargers in the last 45 years. You had Dan Fouts, Hall of Fame quarterback. Stan Humphries, Pro Bowl, All-Pro quarterback. Then you had Drew Brees, Pro Bowl quarterback. Then you had Phillip Rivers, Pro Bowl quarterback. You had Chuck Muncie, Pro Bowl, All-Pro running back. James Brooks, same thing. And then you had Natron Means, Pro Bowl, second, third team, All-Pro. Then you had John Jefferson, Charlie Joyner, Wes Chandler, Kellen Winslow Sr., Antonio Gates, LaDainian Tomlinson. So this is not a franchise that just draft goofballs.
Mm-hmm.
So why didn't you want to go there? And because you wanted the spotlight of New York. And it worked. But are you telling me Phillip Rivers couldn't won those same two Super Bowls with Jackson, Lights Out, what's the dude with the big neck? I can't think of it. Middle linebacker. He should be a Hall of Fame. I can't think of his name. All these dudes that we didn't see go to San Diego, they ain't drafting poop butts now.
Yeah.
So, so I don't want to hear this arrogant thing, but at some point we are going to say enough of this. We out, and it went up until and including the moment we do that, we're going to continue to struggle. That's why the same thing they got Jackie, the same thing they got Willie, the same thing they got Hank.
Mm-hmm.
If they stay there, Rube Foster is the richest black man in the history of America. They would have been equally famous, and white folks had started coming to our black baseball anyway. So, but it's the big league. It's the big league. You can't tell nobody not to get no money. Well, you know what? Hey, black folks, y'all love Jesus, right? It would have just been delayed. It would have been extreme success delays. So, and the reason I brought up Jesus, Mo, is blessing denied. I mean, a blessing denied, delayed is not a blessing denied. So, see, don't tell me about that book and tell me you love Jesus. Then, when it comes to adapting to what they call it, the secular world, the word go out the window. So no, use all this stuff that you be hollering about.
Yep.
So
yeah, man, and I'm gonna pivot and I'm gonna go back to what I used to always say when you talk about the Monique situation in Netflix. What I say, Monique, you need to do what?
Get your own.
Don't even trip.
Ish.
Don't even trip. You know who you are. You know what you are. All right. The funny story. The funny story. Let me get to it. Rap. So we was talking about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, right?
Mm-hmm.
After that game, after that little foul situation, Ryan Clark, RG3, they both had opinions about it. And I'm going to let you go from here because I already know.
Ryan Clark was 100% correct. This dude is a classic bootlegger.
What did he say? Tell him what he said.
Ryan Clark came out and said, look, you sitting there with your wife chicken necking in the back. And let me start at the beginning. Ryan Clark addressed that he called his young lady a hater. And he said, you don't have a position. You're not in a position to call this young lady anything. He said, and Ryan Clark, who is a champion of black women, this is why I corrected myself at the top of the show. Ryan Clark said something, and people, RG3, he Karen'd it and took a piece of what he said and turned it against him.
He did what
Because
to
he Karen'd it. That he's a Karen. You're not even a Kevin or Peter. You're a Karen. And if
Yeah.
anybody fill in the blanks, start with a B and then this B. So you figure it out. But Ryan Clark actually sang this dude's wife praises. He said, I've met your wife, and she's too good of a person for you to be playing this game with her.
Mm-hmm.
Dude laying in the bed. He had his wife laying in the bed, and instead of taking melatonin to go to sleep, she took some melanin. And they showed the next morning, he in the bed with a bonnet on. It made her black. And you playing these racial games, kissing up, tap dancing, and then Ryan Clark calls you on it, and you come back 5 seconds off crying, and you turn all your racist supporters against him.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where our brother Ryan, he had to again come back and clarify, and he backmapped it, and because his wife was getting some backlash, his son is getting backlash, his children, so he was forced to. But see, I ain't telling us to engage online with these bigots, because I get a lot of, on a few minutes with HRap, I get a lot of bigots. I had my cousin, my dad's first cousin, my older cousin. He said something stupid about George Floyd yesterday. I said, salute. It's been 5 years, gone but never forgot. I know he got killed by the police, but what else did he do? And I did exactly what I do to the racists. Like, heart. Thank you for watching. KMA. You're elder in my family, so I'm not going to get disrespect you, but I'm not going to engage with you, because if that's how you feel, again, your mind has been colonized, and it ain't no helping you. And Robert Griffin III, he understood what he was doing. His ratings are low. Ain't nobody really talking about him. The last time somebody said RG3, he was getting his knee blown out. So he has to race bait. He has to Karen to get his base behind him, and then us cussing them out. And every time we cuss them out, every time we cuss Fatlock out, every time we cuss Horns out, every time we cut, and now he the new guy, every time we get on Acho, their numbers go up, because you have to be watching.
Mm-hmm.
We got to leave these dudes where they are. You say something reckless about the black community, all we have to do is tune in to Rap and Mo, tune in to Rap, tune in to Jungle Brother, tune in to Knox, tune in to whoever else, and not get them those eyes. If we keep yelling at this guy, he gets richer, and then he stay. Now, he in the media for the next 6 months.
Yeah. And that's why it's funny to me, bro. It's funny to me because it blew up on him. I feel like it blew up on him. I feel like it backfired on him. And listen, I can't tell nobody. I want to say, if you in sports media or whatever type of media you in, right? Especially if you're working for a network, stick to the script. Stick to the script. Be careful about your opinions. But you know what? I'm not even gonna say that, because I don't completely believe in that. If you have an opinion, hey man, speak your mind. But some things shouldn't be said out loud. You know what I'm saying? Some things do not have to be said out loud, because watching that game, because let's get back to the context of why this happened. Watching that game, I don't think that's what I took away from it, right? And it may be people that believe that. We talked about Angel Reese earlier. But, bro, as a black man, you ain't have to say that. You ain't have to say that. That was something that you didn't have to say. And don't get upset. Don't get all emotional and sensitive when another black man call you out on it. You know what I'm saying? Be ready to stand up instead of getting all defensive and turning around and making it about something that is not. You played that game and it backfired on you, and it's hilarious to me. It's hilarious.
But you know what? It didn't even backfire. Hey, highlight that Jungle Brother in that RC comment. I think I ain't got my glasses on.
Oh yeah,
and it's too small. They're in the chat. I don't know what Jungle Brother.
I think Jungle Brother said, shout out to Jungle Brother, shout out to RC. I think Jungle was saying that there's no winners in this situation. And
exactly.
I agree. There's no winner.
Well, actually, is a winner. RG3. Because here we are, 8 days later, we still talking about that clown.
Yeah.
So he in his mission to come see him, like Big Illinois is a gigantic.
Is that what he was shooting for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, when last time you thought RG3? Your father's a Redskin fan. Your late father's a Redskin fan.
Mm-hmm.
When he was finna be, hey, all Jaden Daniels
When they were still the Redskins. That's the
exactly.
last time.
All Jaden Daniels has to do is have a solid year this year, and nobody will ever say the words RG3 ever again. Though you'll never say RG3. But unless they saying, see, this is what RG3 should have been. He was finna be Mr. Irrelevant, and he just made himself relevant. So he won, but the community lose by and large.
Right.
Now, what was that RC said?
So RC was saying, he said the worst thing RG3 said was bad look for ESPN, which is a way to ask for them to fire Ryan Clark or reprimand him. You know what I'm saying?
But see, what RG3 don't realize is this. ESPN understands that they can do nothing to Ryan Clark. You know why? Because Ryan Clark got one of the hottest sports podcasts in the world. Ryan Clark dared ESPN not to sign him. And they tried to play hardball. And he said, okay, I'm good. And went on. And then they said, wait a minute.
This what I don't like though, because I think Audrey, I don't think he took what Ryan Clark said out of context. I think his response was intended to create the perception that Ryan Clark went somewhere that he really didn't go. Because put it all in context, bro. Don't leave out half of what Ryan Clark was saying. Because I that's what I didn't like from RG3. You trying to spin it. He tried to spin it a little too much for me, and I'm like, nah, bro, that ain't what it's about, man.
That,
just because you trying to play that card, I'm gonna say it. I'm not speaking for you. I'm gonna say it. Just because you trying to play that card and you trying to spin it like that, you banned from the cookout for it. You on a 24-month probation.
I say that you ain't never dude. You getting whooped at the cookout. Remember, I was just talking about we need to stop putting our hands on
you on probation, bro.
No, ain't no probation. You expelled.
You got expelled from all the cookouts.
No cookouts. No more. You can't listen to no James Brown. You can't listen to Al Green. You can't listen to nothing. You got to be listening to the Oak Ridge Boys and Johnny Cash. That's all you get.
Yeah.
Remember what happened with Rob Parker? Exactly. Hey, shout out to RC. Thank you, RC, for bringing up Rob Parker.
Yeah.
To Rob Parker. Rob Parker said this 12 years ago. He said, is he down for us or is he a cornball brother? Rob Parker is a prophet. At this point, Rob Parker is a prophet.
What's the name of the show? What is it? The Odd Couple?
The Odd Couple.
Yeah, he used to do it with Broussard, but I don't think he on there no more. Shout out to Rob Parker.
He don't do it with Broussard no more. He does it with this dude, Washington, I think his last name. And Rob Parker, good guy, man. Rob Parker's going to be on the end of the bench at some point because me and him, I'm going to have to do a special show on a Saturday because Rob works Monday through Friday at the times that I'm on. So I'm going to have to do a show with Rob Parker. He told me, just let me know. Rob Parker's he's a genuine guy. And he's a lover of baseball. And for people who don't know, Rob Parker got his own online radio show, online radio network out of Detroit, where he hired all black people top to bottom.
That's what it is, man.
So he's clearly not a cornball brother.
Yeah. But listen, that's what's up. I'm about to go get this plate. I'm about to go see my people, enjoy this holiday, man. Shout out to everybody for tapping in. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, share, let your people know what's going on, and just tap in with us, man. Rap, take us out, man.
What I'm going to do is do Memorial Day episode in about, what time is it? It is 12:30. So around 4 o'clock, I'm going to come back on a few minutes with HRap this evening. And I'm going to talk about Memorial Day, and I'm talking about the defense. I'm going to talk about these 11 people who were shot down the street from you.
Yeah.
South Carolina.
Yeah. It's crazy.
They got shot last night on a boat. We're going to talk about how we need to pull up our antennas because it's getting, as my man HRap G said, it's getting kind of hectic. And so I'll be on in a couple hours. I'll be on a few hours, give me some rest. I work overnight. This is HRap. That is Big Mo. We are the Chiefs. We are in these seats. We will see y'all regularly. You cannot get rid of us at this point. We taking over the universe 1 week at a time. So tell a friend to tell a friend to tap in on a weekly basis. We ain't figured out the time yet. This holiday, but we're gonna figure out one day of every week, or
That's
at
why
least
you
2 days.
subscribe, so you ain't got to worry about what time. You
You ain't got to worry about nothing. Just tap in like you did today, and we killing the game. We taking over the universe one episode at a time. 2 fingers, 1 word. He Mo. I'm HRap. We out.
What I'm not gonna do is turn this shit down to make you happy.